Our surgeries cost $633 on average. Okay, that's more than I give to most charities. It's not a small amount of money, but the impact compared to that amount is tremendous. We have a program called Love a Sister where people will tithe over the course of a year to pay for a single surgery, and they can know in their hearts that they're really helping somebody. But it's that knowledge in your heart that you've helped someone that's powerful.
Buckle up for a new episode of the S.H.E podcast, the show where we have real and raw conversations to inspire and empower you to be seen and heard so you can create balance in everything you want in your life and business. I'm your host, Heidi Schock, and I'm excited to walk alongside of you on this journey of being seen, heard, and empowered. Welcome to the S.H.E podcast. Be seen, be heard, be empowered. And I am smiling from ear to ear because my guest today isn't only an amazing woman with what she's creating in the transformation of lives that she's making happen in the world with her mission, but she also is like deep in my heart now because we both are into animal rescue. And if anybody knows anything about me when it comes to animals, my heart melts. And we are fostering puppies right now. She got to see the puppies, and she has a foster dog that she's taking care of that is her animal. And so we've already bonded before this episode started. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to Kate Grant. So welcome, Kate, to the S.H.E podcast. I am honored to have you with me here today.
Oh, it's great to be with you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So before we dive in, Kate, I'm just going to give everybody a little bit of background about you and what you do. So Kate Grant is the founding CEO of Fistula Foundation, the global nonprofit leader dedicated to treating childbirth injuries. A passionate advocate for maternal health, she has expanded critical fistula care across 35 countries in sub-Saharan Africa and Asia. No Woman Left Behind is her deeply personal account of the journey to bring healing to women suffering in silence. Grant joined the foundation as its first chief executive in 2005 and has led the expansion from supporting one hospital in one country, Ethiopia, to its current position as a world leader in fistula treatment. So Kate, I'm just going to say I've never had anyone like you on this podcast. I'm honored to have you here. I love the dedication, the mission, the vision, the drive, everything that you stand for and the movement that you're creating and helping women that are dealing with this across the world in these countries. So can you just share with us what inspired you to get started?
Well, fistula is in the title, obviously, of the foundation's name, and the book No One Left Behind that I've written about the work the Fistula Foundation does. Fistula is a disabling injury that happens to women after a childbirth, and it basically leaves them incontinent. And you probably are shaking your head going, gosh, how could that even happen? Well, about half the births in sub-Saharan Africa happen at home. And if everything goes great, fine. But if the labor is obstructed, the kind of labor that would be treated with a C-section here. I had a C-section, too big a baby. My ex-husband was a big man, and the baby got stuck. So I get a C-section. I leave somewhat disappointed after 24 hours of labor that I didn't succeed with a vaginal birth, but I had a healthy baby and I was healthy. A woman that gives birth in a place without access to that can stay in labor for days, often loses her baby. That's usually what happens. Sometimes she'll die, actually, but often she's left also with this injury. And it not only leaves her incontinent, it also makes her socially outcast. Because if you think about a woman that's living in a hut with a dirt floor, that's not a forgiving surface for bodily waste. If she doesn't have access to hot and running water, which she won't, hard to bathe yourself. You don't have a closet full of clothes like most of us have, more clothes than we need, and some of them go to the Goodwill or wherever. It's a very disabling injury. So that's the bad news. But what we do, and you talked about this, about the 35 countries we work in, we fund surgeries. We've done 100,000 of them to help and counting get their lives back. So a skilled surgeon can take that woman from incontinent outcast an hour or two in the operating room, and she can come out ready to be healed. She'll stay in bed for a couple of weeks to heal that injury, the surgery that takes place. So bad news is horrible injury that affects over 1 million women, leaves them incontinent and often outcast. Surgery transforms their lives. That's what I've been doing for 20 years, because I've seen women in multiple countries and how totally transformative this is. There's so many
Mhm.
things that we take for granted here. I know I do in a well-off country, and one of them is emergency obstetric care. So if you don't have that, some very bad things can happen, and that's what motivates me and gets me out of bed every day, to help these women. And I'm delighted that our team now, we do more of these surgeries than the U.S. government, even before the implosion of USAID, more than the United Nations. We're really the leader in this field. I honestly wish there were more competition because it would mean there were more people wanting to help these
Yeah.
women.
So can you share with us the story behind it? How did you even find out that this was an
Sure.
issue or a
So
problem? And
yeah, my story is kind of, I spent my 20s in Madison Avenue, got out of college, wanted
yeah.
to make money, have a glamorous life. And I guess on some level, I was doing both of those things. Worked for two big ad agencies, traveled to New York and LA on shoots, all that sort of stuff, until you realize that you're using your creative abilities to basically create an emotional connection to a branded product, to make somebody like, McDonald's rather than Burger King, or Coke rather than Pepsi. I mean, and you back up on that and you think, what am I doing? And the what am I doing moment came when I spent about 6 months traveling largely through Asia, poor parts of Asia, India, Nepal, what was then Burma is now Myanmar, Indonesia, and just saw a lot of poverty day in and day out. That I never left my heart. And so I came back and really left one career, jumped off that career ladder and started scaling another one, focused on global poverty. So how I ended up at Fistula Foundation is kind of a random course of events where your heart draws you to something. I visited a hospital 30 years ago that was treating these women, and I had never heard of the injury. And I thought, oh my gosh, this whole sort of Florence Nightingale ward, bed after bed of young women that had this injury I'd never even heard of, and it stayed with me. And so that's the short answer and how I ended up doing what I'm doing.
Yeah. So what are some of the for those of us like you when you started, you really didn't realize this was an issue out there, and we are blessed where we are in the United States. We're blessed that we can just, so we know if we have it's unexpected, but people in other countries, women in other countries, they don't have the resources to be able to handle the unexpected like we do in the States. So what are some of the things that your foundation and your mission helps these women? Like when they get this treatment, what changes for them? What is the outcome and the light that they get to see on the other side of it?
Yeah, that's such a great question. As I was trying to describe before, it's hard to imagine here. Like, people are incontinent in this country. See depend pads. I mean, stress incontinence caused by medical issues. But it's manageable here because we have products that help with that. Again, all of us have showers in our houses. Even modest people with modest incomes have a shower or bath. That's not true in big swaths of Africa. So the injury itself makes someone often ostracized, where I've had women say, I would have rather been blind, because people will sit with the blind people, but they're not going to sit with me because their own waste makes them smell. So you
Uh,
have to think there that that's their beginning, often like living almost by themselves, often abandoned by family and told that their injury is their fault, that people don't know why it's been caused. So you're cursed, or you brought this on yourself. So 90% of patients end up clinically depressed, which is understandable given they've been ostracized and how they're being dealt with as like modern day lepers, to quote Nick Kristof, the New York Times. So the surgery, though, that goes in and sews up these holes, basically it's getting a little specific and medical here. Fistula is just a medical term for a hole between an internal organ and the outside world that shouldn't exist. So the holes are in the vagina and the bladder, sometimes the rectum too, and that's what produces the incontinence. But a surgeon goes in and sews those holes up, and the incontinence is cured. And so she goes back to her village, and she's no longer leaking. She's dry. I've had these women in tears telling me, like, it's a miracle. I woke up dry in the morning. If you can think about going to bed at night and then waking up in your own waste in the morning, it's an extraordinarily horrible condition. But again, the thing that's amazing is about 90% of the time, a trained surgeon can fix this woman. And then
mm,
she really gets I would say gets her life back, but she does. Often these women are the early 20s is the average age this affects a
yeah.
woman. So the surgery we give them gives them decades of healthy life. And it's deeply motivating to me. The biggest challenge we have is you've sort of hit on it, is it's not something that people have heard of in this country. Although what's interesting is in Manhattan, where the Waldorf Astoria sits on the upper east side of the island in New York, there used to be a fistula hospital. It closed in the 1890s. So fistula used to affect women here before they had access to emergency obstetric care. Sub-Saharan Africa, which economically is much more impoverished, they don't have the ratio of doctors to citizens there is about 1/10 what it is here. So you just don't have access to those docs when you need them. So the biggest challenge we have is getting people here to care about women suffering from something they never heard of or seen. And that's part of my job. As part of the reason I wrote the book, No Woman Left Behind, was to get people's hearts and minds engaged so that they would join us. Again, we've grown tremendously, but there's a lot more to do. And so far, the book's gotten, and I've mostly just deeply relieved since I'm not a professional writer, but I spent a couple years writing it, and it's getting really good reviews. So I'm hoping it'll help spread the word about what we do. And just for the record, the heroes in that book are not me. I talk about all my face plants and mistakes. The heroes are the doctors that do this work and these amazingly courageous patients. And of course, the donors that show up to help fund it.
It takes a village, and that's one of the reasons this podcast came into existence, and it's growing and evolving. And I'm so grateful that you're here, Kate, because I want to bring on more people who are doing these kinds of things for women, because there's so many things out there that are affecting women that we're just not aware of, especially if you're living in the United States. And we are the people that can be making the difference, just like you are, Kate. And I'm very just in awe that you're doing what you're doing. And I know just hearing you and just thinking about these 20-year-old women that are dealing with this and feeling like there's no hope. And for decades, they would be ostracized. Can you imagine just not being around your family or your friends or even your children as they're growing because of something you can't control? And that was not your fault, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is that you're saying is, I want to underscore, just put a highlighter under it, is if you think about the toughest times you've gone through in your life, death of someone you love, a divorce, like in my case, what do you want? You want people around you that love you. You want people that give you emotional support. They can't fix sometimes the problem. They can't bring back somebody who's died tragically. They can't put your marriage back together, whatever it is. But they can give you that emotional support. And you think about these women that have just gone through a labor without drugs. They've lost their baby. So their baby's born stillborn. That happens 90% of the time with these women. So
Wow.
all these incredible losses. You wake up and you've got, and anyone who's gone through labor, there's some stuff that comes out down there after a few days, and you're thinking this will go away. This will pass like everything else. And it doesn't. And then you're left by your husband or demonized by your family. The people that should be providing you with emotional support are often pushing you away. The double curse of it isn't just the physiological injury, which is profound, and the ripple effects through her life. It's also the emotional scarring and the emotional sort of hurt that exists sort of every day for her. And so the thing that we do, you asked a while ago, we focus most of our energies on funding doctors and surgeons, and that's it. We do some outreach to get patients in. We certainly have funded surgeon training to get more surgeons to do this surgery, but the vast majority of the money we raise goes into those surgeries. That's because that's where the difference happens. That's where the difference in her life happens.
Yeah, and I'm not going to sugarcoat this. Like literally the most joyous time of your life for women, one is getting married, right? For many, not for everybody, but that's one thing.
Yeah.
That's a milestone people look forward to, and having children. And now you're having children, you're bringing a loved one into the world, you're losing them, and you're losing everybody else on top of it through no fault of your own, just because you don't have the medical care that's available to others
Well,
that could be available.
yeah,
So
exactly.
I want to
Oh,
ask
sorry.
you, how can those people listening support you in your mission?
I'm so glad you asked that. We've got a terrific website. And I say that because mostly I'm a talent scout. So I hired somebody away from Stanford Medicine about 7 years ago, got her to take a pay cut after 3 hours. I was at waterboarding lunch. I felt like I was the one being waterboarded. Not exactly, but I mean, to convince her to take the job, really wanted her. And she's terrific. Her name is Pam Lunny, and she built an amazing website for us. So I'm happy to send anybody to our website, fistulafoundation.org. And fistula is just Fistula foundation.org. And you can find out what we do there. Obviously how to support our work. We have, I think it's 19 years of Charity Navigator 4-star ratings. You can look at our financials. We get, and I'm ruthless about this, we get the money out the door. It's not paying for business class plane flights and fancy offices or anything like that. And somebody wants, you can drill into our tax returns and see that we get the money out the door to help women. And that's the thing. It sounds crass, but no money, no mission. I mean, doctors in Africa have to be paid too. They have families they have to feed. And that's what these funds go to. The other thing is you can look, it's just there's a drop down, Kate's book, and it's just because No Woman Left Behind was too low for the drop down menu, but we have a page dedicated to the book. I was delighted I got some blurbs from people like Hillary Clinton, Christy Turlington Burns, and people who've been sort of pioneers in women's health. And women's rights. And again, so far the reviews have been good. Mostly the kindest reviews I've gotten was people that said it reads like a novel. And I mentioned that only in that I've tried to make it a good read. And so why? Because I want people to understand the story of these women and these doctors. And if it read like a textbook, who's going to read it? So I hope your listeners will give it a listen or look. It also, we have it on, you can get it on Audible as well. It's coming out June 24th. So like in 4 weeks from tomorrow. The other thing I should mention that's important is 100% of the proceeds from the book go to the foundation. It's not going to me.
Amazing. So No Woman Left Behind. Typically, Kate, we are months out. I'm just going to be fully transparent in this podcast dropping.
Oh, okay.
But we're bumping you up.
Thank you.
Yes, I am bumping you up. We're going to get this out. So you and I are going to have a chat online what week you need to be dropped. And we'll make sure that my producer knows that you're dropping, because this is like, I'm on board 110% on this.
Thank you.
Think this is so important, and I'm so grateful that you're here. We've been wanting, the reason that I started this podcast was because just a little backstory on it, nothing about me, but my goal was I wanted to start a podcast. That was selfish. I did want to start a podcast. It's good to be on my vision board. And I was like, what does it get to be? And I want it to be about entrepreneurship, but there was something deeper and I didn't know what it was at the time. And I had a whole different name to it, but I couldn't get on board. And normally I'm like, I'll stick the square peg in the round hole, just trying to reach my goal. And this one time I was like, no, this gets to be right. And I let it go. And then I was away with my kids, and I woke up in a hotel room on New Year's Eve of 2022, moving into 2023. And I said, be she, be seen, be heard, be empowered. We get to empower women, and we get to make a movement to transform the lives of women, no matter what it looks like. And what you're doing, and I'm not saying this about me or anything, what you're doing is perfect. And this is why it's all coming full circle. And I'm
following your heart like that. Good for you.
Thank you. But I'm just so glad that this was an outlet for you to be able to share what you're doing, and for me to learn more about what you're doing, because I had no idea this exists in the world. And now I definitely want to be part of that movement going forward in your mission. So No Woman Left Behind. You got, whoever you ladies, you get to share this. You get to put it out in the world. It's coming out June 24th. Okay, I was going to say 23rd, June 24th. So when this drops, we will definitely be pushing it out there. And for those of you listening, if you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe and please share this. Please push this out to more women. As women, no matter what we're going through, you know what happens when, even if you're going through the toughest of times, when you're sharing something that supports other women in their healing, in their journey, and you're giving outward versus looking inward, so much magic happens. So much. You feel so good about yourself, and it comes back to you 100-fold. So
no matter, for what it's worth, our staff is, I don't know, 90% women, and our donor base is about 85% women. I mean, even though we've gotten written up in the New York Times, which obviously male-female split is about even, for maybe sort of obvious reasons, women have been our most sort of ardent supporters. That said, we have a few men that are amazing that have stepped up and stepped into it. More often than not, women.
Yeah. And I'm gonna see how I can connect you with some people too. I'm really happy to learn more about what you're doing and the mission that you're doing. And I
Great.
think it's really important in the world. And I know these women have been hugely impacted by your mission, your vision. So No Woman Left Behind is the book. We're definitely going to promote that. Where can people grab that? I know they can
You
grab it
can
on your
get it.
website,
Yeah,
but
it's on. I mean, you can get it Barnes and Noble, Amazon. I mean, we, as you know, has sort of become the
the
dominant
go-to.
force in
Yeah.
books, and it's you can actually pre-order it now. It's there's an Amazon. You just put in No Woman Left Behind, or even just put in my name. I don't know if there's any other Kate Grants out there, but No Woman Left Behind, and it'll come up. So yeah, it's
Perfect.
we're trying to get, as I said, the profits from the book, such as they are, going to go to the foundation. But I'm a realist. I didn't write it thinking it was going to make a ton of money, but I was hoping that it would provide an outlet for us to sort of spread the word about what we're doing. And there's even at the end of the book, there's a couple of pages of questions so that the book could be used for book clubs. I've said I would show up for like 15, 20 minutes or even half. It depends on how long the conversation with, but like a Zoom part of a book club, if that would be helpful. If people wanted that in this day and age, it's something you can do without spending money and time getting on planes, which we wouldn't do because we're thrifty. But I could do that for people that wanted the book for their book clubs. And we're hoping to get it into libraries as well, so that yeah, I think it's important because to a certain degree, fistula is a symptom of bigger problems. It's
Mhm.
what happens when a health delivery system doesn't take care of women. And this brutal
Right.
truth is the day a woman gives birth is the day in her life she's most likely to die or be seriously injured. And I believe if the world were more balanced from a gender perspective, women wouldn't be dying and being grievously injured. It's societies are making decisions about putting resources into things. And in Africa and parts of Asia, that isn't into the well-being of women delivering babies. Women that are taking 100% of the risk for bringing all of us into the world. So fistula is a symptom of something deeper,
Yeah.
which is, I would say, lack of adequate spending on women and girls to
Yeah.
protect
It should
health.
absolutely not be happening.
It
Absolutely
shouldn't.
not be
There's a
happening.
reason it doesn't happen here. I mean, the odds, one of the biggest differences between rich and poor in our world today is the odds of dying or being seriously injured in childbirth. In the US, it happens, and we have a shockingly high rate of maternal mortality compared to Europe. It's about 5 times as great here as it is in the EU. So that's really bad. But still, the odds of dying here in labor or childbirth are like a tiny fraction of what they are in Africa. It's really the biggest difference between rich and poor, are the risk you take delivering a child. And again, fistula is a symptom of a deeper problem. Somebody might say, well, why aren't you working on that deeper problem? Well, because I'm also a realist. There's these women that are suffering, they need help, and this focusing our kind of tiny mighty team on one thing, we're able to drive results. If you're talking about trying to get health care for the 600 million women in Africa, that's obviously beyond the scope, at least of my abilities. I need to talk to Bill Gates or somebody, Jeff Bezos, with a deep pocket on that one. But so we focus on this one injury and track our results pretty, I would say ruthlessly, but we're very driven the way, I mean, the way for-profits are to track profit, we track surgeries. And
Yeah.
those surgeries are women. So we track the number of women we're helping.
Yeah. And if you're
Yeah.
questioning why isn't we dealing with the deeper issue, then feel free. Dig deeper,
Let's
right?
deal with it.
Reach out to Kate, figure out a way to dig deeper. She's doing what she can on this level, and she's not opposed to going deeper. She just needs the support and the help. She can't do it alone. So this is where you can chime in, especially if you know people with those deeper pockets that can go in deeper into that level to fix it, because it does need to be fixed. She's doing what she can. She started this movement. It's happening. Women's lives are
Well,
being changed, but we get to do more. More women's lives
true.
get to be changed.
And I want to name drop a second. We got a gift from Mackenzie Scott, Jeff
Yes.
Bezos's ex-wife, who's an amazing, amazing woman. And as you know, she's given out billions of dollars, but she gave us 15 million 2 years ago.
Wow.
And no strings attached. We went through a whole series of interviews with her, smarty pants, Ivy League advisors. So it wasn't like she just threw money at us. It was a very rigorous process, and then we got this money. But the thing was, it's trust-based philanthropy. We did not have to commit to how we were going to use it. She literally trusted us. I didn't have to say we were going to spend it doing XYZ. And what we decided to do was we decided to put it all into surgeries. We didn't put any of it into our team. The stipulations I had with our team was two things: high quality, continuing the low cost, And every penny of that was gone by January. So I mention that because we'd always said there's a ton of need out there. We just need more money. To me, this
Yeah.
is the strongest proof point possible. We were able to metabolize $15 million in a little over a year and a half and turned it into surgeries and took our surgery number up by 40%, which is, again, those are women. It's a number, but those are women that we're helping. So
Amazing.
on the off chance that there's some person with a very deep pocket, I can promise you we can turn your money into human well-being for women that
Yes.
have been tragically injured and too often demonized.
Yes. And if you have a way of going deeper and digging into the problem so that we don't have to deal with this upper level problem and we're not continuously paying for surgeries, we can actually get them the health care long term. Let's make that happen. But right now, Kate's doing amazing work, and everything she said, she's very transparent in every dollar that's being spent. And she's making magic happen in the world for these women, because these women deserve to have a life. They deserve to be able to go into childbearing with the joy of having a child. And if something does happen, they do get the medical resources that they need in order to continue a life of thriving and not of depression and feeling like they're ostracized. Nobody should go through that, no matter what, at any point in their life. So, No Woman Left Behind. That's the book. Go grab it. Kate, let's talk about all of your social media. You can go to Instagram. It's at Fistula_Foundation. Facebook is the same. LinkedIn is the same. YouTube is the same. If you want to learn more about the organization, go follow them on social. Go connect with Kate. Go connect with her team. We will have all of her information inside the show notes. You can also go to fistulafoundation.org if you want to learn more. And donate, and also go grab the book. But please, for you ladies listening, go share this. If you can do anything, I'm imploring you like I've never implored you before and asked for anything before. Please share this mission with other women. We're a stand for other women. I'm a mom of two. I can't imagine going through what these women have gone through, nor do I want any woman to go what they're going through. Kate, before we wrap up, I have a couple questions, and I'm going to let you have the floor to wrap up. And I'm getting emotional here talking to you, so I'm just trying to shut down the tears. So we're going to get this off the emotional roller coaster here. Is there a fun fact about you, Miss Kate? Let's talk about you a little bit that we wouldn't know by looking at your foundation, checking out your social
Yeah.
media or your website.
Well, a couple things. Traveling a lot globally, I've come in touch with something that's somewhat obvious. I hit the jackpot by being born in the United States. To quote Warren Buffett, I won a lottery I'd never entered. And I say this, both my grandfathers, one of them was an immigrant, the other one not, but both only had finished sixth grade. Sixth grade, think about that.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And so I live in a country, even as a woman, I could make it to college and then graduate school and serve in the U.S. government when I was, on the House Foreign Affairs Committee or in the Clinton administration way back in the day as a political appointee. But trajectory, there's not that many places in the world where you can go from, granddaughter of a miner in Butte, Montana, and then be able to do something that's as meaningful as this. So why do I mention that? It's not to brag, it's to say I'm really lucky. I'm so lucky I was born here in a place, the land of opportunity. And sometimes that promise has been unfulfilled or too often, but for me it was, and I'm grateful for that.
Thank you for sharing. Another question I have for you: if you could have lunch or dinner or a conversation with anyone, whether they're deceased or alive, who would it be and why?
Oh, I think that's an easy one. I have a coffee table book right here. It'll get me teared up. Nelson Mandela. Nelson
That doesn't
Mandela.
surprise me.
I want to know how he turned pain into forgiveness, how you could be jailed for nearly 3 decades of your life and then embrace the Afrikaners who put you there. Amazing. And help your country avoid a civil war. That's a journey of the soul that I would love to know more about. And I mean, he's written about it, but or when he was alive, obviously, but that's the person I'd pick.
Thank you. That was amazing. I'm not shocked, but beautiful. Kate, is there anything that we didn't get to touch on that you want to share that I didn't get to ask you? You have the floor.
Yeah, I've been at this for 20 years. And if you told me 20 years ago I'd be doing the same thing for 20 years, I mean, part of the reason I loved my advertising life till I figured out what I was doing was I was constantly learning and learning about new products and industries. And the idea of just spending decades on one thing seems, like, huh, what? But as I said before, what gets me out of bed and propels me and has excited me is the surgery really does transform a life. Our surgeries cost $633 on average. Okay, that's more than I give to most charities. It's not a small amount of money, but the impact compared to that amount is tremendous. We have a program called Love a Sister where people will tithe over the course of a year to pay for a single surgery. And they can know in their hearts that they're really helping somebody. They're not going to meet this woman likely and maybe even visit, Chad or wherever we're funding surgeries, Democratic Republic of Congo, Kenya, whatever. But it's that knowledge in your heart that you've helped someone that's powerful. And again, as I say, we've got the receipts, which is why we get this money from Mackenzie Scott. We can
Yeah.
prove that we do use that money that way. And it sounds crass. Like if you told me I used to buy my kids like overpriced popcorn from Cub Scouts rather than trying to sell the stuff to my family because I just don't like selling stuff to people. With this, I don't feel like I'm selling something to people. I'm inviting somebody to join us, inviting people to help us because we help these women. And the joy in a fistula patient that's been cured is a joy that I've not seen on many other people in any realm of life because the surgery is that transformative.
Yeah. So good. If you want to make a difference, if you are like listening to this conversation between Kate and I, and you're as moved, if not more moved than I am right now, then go to fistulafoundation.org. Go look, go check it out, go learn more, and then go share, even if you can't donate right now. $1 is more than they had yet a moment ago. You don't have to donate $633. You can donate what you can. But every penny, everything makes a difference. These women deserve it. Just like you, just like me, we all move through this childbearing journey thinking that we are bringing a life into the world, and nothing is more important for many of us than being a mom. And some of these women don't get to experience that. And on the other side of it is just a life full of ostracism, which no one deserves. So let's give them the hope, the love, the life that they deserve on the other side of it. And the health and the medical care that they deserve. Every woman deserves medical care. Every human deserves medical care. So Kate, thank you for your time today. Thank you all for listening to Kate and I. Please share this, no matter what you're doing, just hit the share button. Let more women know about it. I didn't know about it until I got to speak with Kate. And I'm so grateful for this time with you, Kate. Thank you. And I hope we make a huge impact and we're able to create a ripple effect in your foundation into these women across the world. I truly do. So thank you so much. Thank you again for listening. And if you have any questions, reach out to Kate, reach out to me. This podcast is all about being seen and being heard and empowering women to do so. And these women get to be seen and heard, and they get to be healed. So sending you all so much love and gratitude for being with Kate and I today. Kate, I'm sending you so much love and gratitude for being with me here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We will see you on the next episode of the S.H.E podcast. In the meantime, be empowered to be seen and heard, and please empower others to be seen and heard in the process. We'll see you soon.